You control almost nothing, and the sooner you accept that, the freer you will be. We live intoxicated by the illusion of control. We plan, calculate, anticipate, as if the world were going to obey our internal spreadsheets. But reality has other plans, and the more we try to hold everything in our hands, the more it slips through our fingers. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any revealing content. The myth of control is born of fear. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of the unexpected. So we create rigid routines, obsessive goals, tight schedules. We appear strong, but we are always on the verge of collapse. Anxiety grows, not because the world is uncertain, but because we refuse to accept that uncertainty. Michel de Montaigne, a Renaissance philosopher, understood this early on. Life is a dance between order and chaos. He did not propose abandonment, but a lucid realism, knowing that control is partial and that much of what happens to us comes from outside. Luck, circumstance, encounters, accidents. Think of a surfer. He does not control the sea, but learns to read the waves, to fall well, to get up quickly. Those who try to tame the ocean drown. Those who dance with it survive and even have fun. So it is in life. We do not defeat chaos, we navigate it. When you abandon the myth of control, something curious happens. Your mind relaxes. You begin to see possibilities that were previously invisible. Your energy, once drained by the fear of making mistakes, is transformed into curiosity and openness. It's not about being irresponsible, but about understanding the limits of your influence. What is within your reach? Action in the present. What is not? The future outcome. The secret lies in acting with attention, without carrying the weight of controlling everything. What would life be like if everything went exactly as planned? Perfect boredom. The unpredictable is not just an obstacle. It is the essence of what drives us. Think about the most memorable moments of your life. A friendship that arose by chance, an unexpected opportunity, an unlikely encounter. None of this was in the script. It is precisely these breaks from the script that make life fascinating. From Montaigne to the Stoics, philosophy has always pointed out that resisting the unexpected is resisting the very nature of existence. Everything around us changes all the time. Our bodies, our relationships, society. The unpredictable is not an accident along the way. It is the way. There is an evolutionary reason for this. Our minds have been shaped to deal with the unexpected. We are experts at adaptation, improvisation, and reinvention. But ironically, modern culture has taught us to fear surprise. We want everything guaranteed, everything calculated, everything under control. And when life fails to meet our demands, we feel betrayed. Accepting the unpredictable is making room for adventure. It's like traveling without a strict itinerary. You allow yourself to discover what you didn't know you needed to find. The unpredictable takes us out of our comfort zone, stretches our limits, and destroys rigid certainties. Without it, there is no real evolution. But be careful. The unpredictable does not mean absolute chaos. It requires presence, attention, and flexibility. It's not about letting go of the wheel, but knowing that even when driving, traffic can change, and that sometimes the best route wasn't on the GPS. Embracing this beauty is, in practice, developing an attitude of openness. It's saying yes to life as it is, not just as we would like it to be. And when we do that, the world becomes lighter, more interesting, more full of possibilities. The world doesn't ask for rigidity, it demands flexibility. Mental flexibility isn't weakness, it's intelligence in action. It's the ability to adjust routes without losing focus, to change your mind without losing your identity, to face the new without panicking. In an unpredictable world, it's not the strongest who survive, it's the most adaptable. Montaigne understood this deeply. In his essays, he did not seek definitive conclusions but experimented with ideas, tested points of view, allowed himself contradictions. He knew that a rigid mind breaks, a flexible one bends and comes back stronger. In practice, mental flexibility means three things. First, abandon absolute certainties. When you believe you know everything, you close the door to learning. Second, adjust expectations. The original plan rarely survives the first impact with reality. Third, cultivate lightness. Taking life too seriously is a sure recipe for frustration. Look at a bamboo tree. It bends in the wind, but it doesn't break. An oak tree, on the other hand, hard and inflexible, can break in a storm. We are like bamboo when we accept that changing our minds is not a sign of weakness but of growth. When we understand that changing course does not mean giving up, but recalibrating. This flexibility also applies to emotions. Feeling anger, fear, or frustration is not the problem. The problem is getting stuck in them. A flexible mind observes the emotion, understands the message, and moves on. A rigid mind, on the other hand, turns every emotion into a prison. In times of rapid change, flexibility ceases to be a virtue and becomes a necessity. We cannot predict the future, but we can prepare our minds to dance with it. Uncertainty is not a punishment. It is the engine of growth. It is in unknown territory that we become greater than we were. When everything is predictable, comfortable, and safe, we go into automatic mode. Nothing challenges us, nothing stretches us. But when the ground shakes, something inside awakens. Attention, creativity, resilience. Montaigne knew that we are forged in friction. He exposed himself to discomfort and challenges not to suffer, but to understand himself. He knew that without facing the unpredictable, we remain trapped in a bubble of repetition. It is only in imbalance that we discover what we are capable of. Look at athletes. They progress when they challenge their bodies beyond the usual. Look at entrepreneurs. They learn from the clash between their ideas and the real market. Look at relationships. They deepen when they go through crises and come out the other side. Uncertainty is the test that reveals who we are and who we can be. But the secret is not to seek out suffering for its own sake. It is not to run away when discomfort arises. The problem is not the fall, it is the paralyzing fear of falling. When we stop treating discomfort as an enemy, we begin to transform it into a teacher. Real growth requires crossing zones of uncertainty. It means experimenting, failing, recalibrating. Every step outside the known is a laboratory. Every mistake contains a hidden map to the next version of ourselves. Is there brutality in this process? Yes, but there is also beauty. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly because it stands still. It dissolves entirely in its cocoon before being reborn. Those who avoid discomfort avoid metamorphosis. Now it's time to attack the root of much human suffering, the unnecessary weight of expectations, and how it prevents us from flowing with uncertainty. Expectation is a trap disguised as planning. Planning is healthy, but turning plans into internal certainties is a recipe for frustration. When we project rigid futures, we close our hearts and minds to anything that doesn't fit into our fantasy, and the world, by its very nature, does not bow to our predictions. Montaigne saw this clearly. Much of our suffering does not come from what happens, but from what we expected to happen. Reality itself is rarely cruel. What destroys us is the clash between expectation and what it encounters outside. Expectations weigh not only on us, but also on others. We expect people to understand us without speaking, to value us in the right way, to live up to our idealizations. When they fail, and they always fail, we feel a pain that we ourselves have planted. This is where uncertainty shows its liberating side. When we reduce the weight of expectation, we increase the space for surprise. This does not mean giving up dreams or ambitions, but letting go of the rigidity of how and when they should come true. It is the difference between rowing with direction and wanting to control the wind. In practice, living without the burden of expectation brings us back to the present. Instead of living in the should have, we start living in the is. This doesn't make us passive, quite the opposite. It makes us more engaged, more attentive, more alive to what is in front of us, not just what was in our mental script. Without overwhelming expectations, you begin to see opportunities where you once saw only flaws. You begin to realize that life is not a delivery contract. It is an adventure full of unexpected chapters. The unknown is not by nature a threat. It is our interpretation of it that transforms emptiness into fear. Fear arises when we look ahead and see only risks. Curiosity appears when we look at the same space and see possibilities. The difference is not in the world, it is in our gaze. Montaigne intuited this with precision. He explored his own limits and contradictions not because he wanted fixed answers, but because he wanted to understand how far he could go. He transformed the unknown, both internal and external, into a laboratory of discovery, not a torture chamber. In practice, fear of the unknown comes from two places: the need for control and a lack of self-confidence. When we believe that we will only survive if everything is under our control, any gap becomes a threat. When we don't trust our ability to adapt, any surprise seems like a monster. Curiosity, on the other hand, comes from openness. It is a muscle that gets stronger the more we use it. We start small, investigating discomfort, asking what it teaches us. Then we expand, facing challenges not as final tests but as learning games. Imagine a child exploring a new park. They don't know what they'll find, but they're filled with excitement at the prospect of discovery. Adults have often lost this impulse because they've traded adventure for control. Recovering curiosity means reclaiming this attitude, walking toward the unknown with attentive eyes and a flexible spirit. Transforming fear into curiosity does not mean eliminating risk. It means changing our dance with it. It's like exploring a cave with a flashlight. You don't know what you'll find, but you go ahead anyway because you know that's where the treasure lies. Nothing holds us back more than attachment, and nothing frees us more than letting go of it. Attachment is not just to material things. It seeps into our identities, the images we construct of ourselves, the roles we play, the outcomes we desire. When we cling to these anchors, uncertainty becomes a threat, because every change feels like theft. But when we let go, change becomes simply movement. Montaigne was a master of intellectual detachment. He wrote without the obsession of being right, without the desire to establish a final doctrine. His pleasure was in the process of thinking, not in erecting monuments of certainty. He understood that the more we try to freeze life, the more we suffer. In practice, detachment is not indifference. It is not giving up on love, dreams, or pursuit. It is participating intensely, but without turning the result into an altar. It is pursuing goals, knowing that you are greater than them. It is loving without turning the other person into a guarantee of happiness. It is working hard without making success the measure of your worth. Letting go is like letting go of the boat and learning to swim. While we are holding on, fear rules us. When we let go, we discover that we have muscles, lungs, instinct. The sea does not disappear, but we are no longer hostages to it. In our daily lives, we practice detachment by letting go of perfectionism, accepting that not everything has to go according to our script and laughing at ourselves when we fail. It's constant training because the ego loves to collect certainties. But every time we let go of an expectation, we make room for something new to come in. The best relationships are not born out of certainty, but out of the courage to go through uncertainty together. The greatest illusion in human bonds is to think that we can guarantee eternal stability, guaranteed friendship, unshakable love, a fail-safe partnership. This myth suffocates the relationship before it even has a chance to breathe. When we accept that people change, that feelings fluctuate, that not everything can be predicted, we begin to love more freely, and paradoxically, more deeply. Montaigne wrote about friendship as a meeting of souls, not a contract. He understood that the strength of a connection does not lie in promises carved in stone, but in a mutual willingness to walk side by side through uncertainty. When two people accept that they do not own each other, they make room for real trust to grow. The problem arises when we turn the other person into an emotional anchor. We try to fix those we love in rigid roles. You will always be this way to me. But people are not statues. Those who cannot tolerate change in others destroy the relationship from within. Those who accept the dance of change create bonds that breathe. Uncertainty in relationships requires 3 virtues: listening, flexibility, and presence. Listening without projecting what we want to hear. Being flexible without losing integrity. Being present even when the answers don't come easily. Interestingly, the strongest relationships are those that survive crises. It is when the script fails, when there are disagreements, when doubts arise, when the other person does not meet our expectations, that we test the elasticity of the bond. And often, we come out closer than before. The only guarantee that life offers is that there are no guarantees. And that is not a tragedy. It is a liberation. When we finally stop demanding that the world give us fixed promises, we begin to play the real game. The game of presence, adaptation, lightness. The game where value lies not in control, but in the creative response to what appears. Montaigne reminds us of this with an almost uncomfortable realism. Life is unstable. Bodies fail. Relationships change. Time slips away. But that is precisely where the opportunity lies. Life does not ask you to defeat uncertainty. It asks you to dance with it. This entire script was preparation for that leap. The myth of control imprisons us. The unpredictable challenges us. Flexibility opens us up. Discomfort shapes us. Expectations fall away. Improvisation emerges. Curiosity awakens. Detachment frees us and relationships flourish. All of this culminates in a single invitation. Live without guarantees. What does this mean in practice? It means entering each day with attention, not with secret contracts. It means acting with intention but letting go of the outcome. It means embracing failure as part of the process, not as a condemnation. It means looking at life not as a project to be completed, but as an unfinished work in eternal construction. The paradox is simple and brutal. The more we try to protect ourselves from uncertainty, the more fragile we become. The more we accept it, the more resilient we become. Deep down, life wants to heal us from the illusion that we can control what matters, to teach us to love what is. And here's the final provocation. What are you trying to control today that you could simply embrace? What would change if, instead of clinging on, you let go? If this content made sense to you, like the video, and tell us in the comments if you're on the team that tries to control everything or if you've learned to flow with chaos. See you in the next video.